Welcome, everyone. I'm so happy to see your faces, and thank you so much for joining us for another Chefs for Chefs event today. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat and where you're joining us from. And because it's officially spring and April is Earth Month, feel free to share what foods you would love to grow or learn to grow for 2022. And if you have any other comments or questions, feel free to throw that in the chat box. And, if you're cooking along and you have questions, feel free to raise your hand, unmute yourself, and yeah, do so at any time today. So let me just introduce myself to those of you who don't already know me. I am Sylvia Ng, and I am a dietitian nutritionist. And I started Chefs for Chefs as my passion project. Most of you may already know CHEFS stands for Charities Helping Everyone for Seva. So I'm pairing up with my talented chef friends to offer virtual cooking classes to all of you so we can raise money and raise awareness for different charities and organizations. So let me introduce you to our guest chef for today. And let me just say that I'm so honored and so thankful to welcome Chef Sedesh Boodram. Yay! I'm lucky enough to call Sedesh a dear friend of mine who is the talented culinary director at the Anvil Pub and Grill in Birmingham, Alabama. He's a native of Trinidad and Tobago, but moved to New York City working at high-profile restaurants such as the famous Per Se by Chef Thomas Keller and Country Restaurant with Jeffrey Zakarian, which is where we first met and had some great times. Yeah. Yeah. So Sudesh ended up moving down south to Birmingham, where he helped Chef Chris Hastings put both Hot and Hot Fish Club and its sister restaurant Ovenbird on the map, which led Chris and Sudesh to appear on the Food Network for an episode of Iron Chef America. So you'll have to watch season 10, episode 11 to find out if they won or not, and I won't spoil it for you. But his culinary experiences are why the Anvil is the perfect place for Sudesh to bring his fine dining techniques without all the seriousness to a British-inspired modern pub where you can have a British favorite like fish and chips on the same menu beside a Southern favorite like shrimp and grits, while he focuses mainly on seasonal and local ingredients. And when he's not in the kitchen, he loves practicing hot yoga on a daily basis, ridiculously early in the morning, I think. Or you can catch him painting abstract art in calla lilies, which can be seen hanging in the restaurant, or of course, spending time with his lovely family. And I want to just say hi to Delilah over there. I remember when Sudesh got the call to adopt Delilah, and it felt like soon after he moved down south with his husband Jason. So if you're all wondering why he moved from New York City to Alabama, even though he was quote unquote bored out of his head down there, let's hear it from our very own guest chef Sedesh Boodram, so he can share with you which dish he's cooking today and which organization he's cooking for. So take it away.
Okay, so today I'm gonna make a succotash, which is very southern, and I'm gonna pan-sear some snapper to go with it. This dish, I love this dish because it's very easy to make. It celebrates all the ingredients that I love. I love okra and corn and tomatoes, and it's clean, it's healthy. And my husband just recently had some issues with his heart, and so we've switched to a very strict diet of like just vegetables and seafood, zero fat at all, and the only fat we use is olive oil and avocado oil. So this dish is something we make quite often in our house, and one of the reasons why we had actually moved to the south is because his mother had Alzheimer's, and he wanted her to spend some time, wanted Delilah to spend time knowing who she is before it got really bad. And that's the organization we're supporting right now for Alzheimer's because it's very personal to us, don't you think? And so yeah, so we're gonna support Alzheimer's for this, and we'll be cooking some yummy food. So I hope you guys could join along or ask any questions that you need to ask. So, and she's gonna be my sous chef today. So
Yay! Great. Thanks so much. Well, I just wanted to, preface it by saying that, Alzheimer's is, as most people know, a neurologic disorder that leads to dementia. And, right now there's over 6.5 million Americans living with Alzheimer's, and almost 2/3 are women, by the way. And there's over 11 million caretakers out there. 80% of them are family, friends, like you and me with my grandma. A lot of them are unpaid caregivers, so it can be a lot of responsibility. It can be expensive. It can be a really emotional experience for people caring for loved ones with Alzheimer's. So yeah, so thanks so much for, supporting Alzheimer's Association and just bringing it to light, because I know, bringing it to awareness, people's awareness, to celebrate and support the initiatives in healthcare, and the type of research and advocacy that they do for people with Alzheimer's. So thanks, Sedesh.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
I'm happy to be here doing this for you because, we go back way back then, and I'm to be here with you. So first we're gonna start cooking, I guess, right? So we're gonna start with some. So these are my favorite. These are lima beans. You can get these frozen from the store. What I did last summer when they were at the height of the season, I actually froze them myself, so I can use it all winter time when there's nothing but root vegetables around. So I'm gonna start cooking these in some veg stock initially, and then we're gonna move on to everything else. So I'm gonna go into the pan with some of this baby lima beans, and I'm gonna go cook it with some veg stock.
So Sedesh, I know lima beans are like notorious for not being kids' favorite. Is there a good substitute for lima beans that you can think of in this recipe?
Yeah, I use field peas. There's all these. What are the things that we use? Lima beans, field peas, black
maybe even edamame. I mean, it's kind of like a green.
Can work just as well. Yes.
Yeah.
I do love edamame, so yeah, so that would work too. So I'm gonna go in there with some veg stock, and then I'm gonna start chopping some onions up, which is not fun to look at, but I'll put that in there to get us some flavor.
Are you using like a white onion or a yellow onion?
I'm using a Vidalia sweet onions, but you can use whatever onions that's available to you. In the South there's in Georgia there's the Vidalia onions that I love. And that I use most of the times when I'm cooking. So yeah.
I know I get the question a lot from people, like, how do you not cry from cutting onions? And I don't know if you know my secret to it, but whenever I wear contacts, I actually don't cry. But if I wear my glasses, then I cry like a baby.
Yeah, because it's like it sends something out that your eyes are like, I don't know.
I think so, yeah. But if you have any tips or tricks on that, I know people have like the cold water thing or whatever. But
people do the cold water, or they have like a match burning or something like that. I
haven't heard that one.
Yeah, I haven't figured out a trick just for that quite yet. So yeah. So I'm gonna chop some more onions, and in the meantime, while I'm gonna have you chop me up some okra. So I love okra. It's one of my favorite vegetables. It came to the South from Africa, from the slaves. Where I grew up in Trinidad and Tobago, that's where the slaves brought it to, and it's one of my favorite vegetables. I remember when I lived in New York a million years ago, it was hard to find. Now you can find it everywhere, because I was in Vermont just recently for the winter, and they had it in the grocery in Vermont. So I was happy that I'm seeing that it's making its way around and everybody's accepting it. But it's one of my favorite things to eat. I like to saute it. I like to grill it. It's one of those yummy vegetables that if you haven't tried yet, you need to.
Cool. Yeah, I think people are a little intimidated by okra. I think I am a little bit too, because I'm always afraid it's going to be like slimy, or like if you overcook it or something, it's going to come out wrong. But do you have any secrets on how to cook okra?
Yes, you cook it on very high heat, so that once you start cooking it on the high heat, it starts getting rid of that slime. But it's one of those things I feel like, and if you fry it, in the South it's huge where they bread it and fry it. We don't eat fried food because it's not healthy, but
yeah,
I like to blister it and the grill, or you can grill it and it's just as yummy. And I actually don't like it fried because it takes away from the flavor of the okra.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you can't find it fresh where people are, is it something that you would find frozen, maybe?
You can find it frozen in yes, you can find it frozen in the vegetable aisle. And people frown on frozen food a lot, but I'm like, normally they freeze the food in the height of the season, So you're actually getting a better product if you can find it frozen, if you can't find it fresh when it's supposed to be fresh. So
Right.
so yeah. So I don't frown on vegetables um that's not fresh and that's
Yeah.
frozen.
Same. Yeah. Jalila, how are you doing over there?
Good.
Is she just slicing the okra in half?
Yeah, she's just slicing it in half like that. I think that's enough. We're making a meal for 4 people. Because Delilah, myself, Jason, and then leftovers for Jason to take to work. I always make four meals because he always wants to take food to work. So while that is cooking, I'm gonna start cooking the okra. So we're gonna get some avocado oil in here or olive oil. You can use whichever one you want. I tend to always start with a cold pan because then I can control the heat for the onions. So we're gonna get some onions in here. And after this, you're gonna start cutting some tomatoes. Okay. Oh, one, actually. Yeah. So you can get some onions in here that kind of cook a little bit and get happy. And I'm gonna go in with the okra, and then and the field peas are looking really good back there.
Yeah, I like using the avocado oil too because I think it can stand up to heat a little bit better than olive oil.
Yes, yeah, because the olive oil kind of tends to get bitter if it gets too hot. So that's why I like those. That's the 2 oils that we tend to use in everything we do. Avocado oil, like you mentioned, for the heat, and olive oil for like finishing stuff. And if you guys can see this, so that's that. We're gonna go in with some of the okra. I'm gonna start cutting some, do like corn for me. And again, I'm gonna go with very high heat to get away from that sliminess that normally people don't care for when it comes to okra.
Safety first. So same with you. If there's not fresh corn where we are yet right now, I would totally just grab a bag of frozen corn and throw it in there, and probably work just as well.
Exactly. Yeah, like I said, frozen food has gotten a bad rap, but it's not that bad because, like I said, they freeze it when the height of the season, and that's the best time. So if you can't have it when it's just in season, it's frozen. I don't frown on that at all. So.
Sedesh, I don't know if you remember this back from country, but do you remember making a corn ice cream? We would take all of those corn cobs and save them and infuse it into the milk and cream, I think, and then we would turn it into a corn ice cream. And yes, I would drink the ice cream base.
Yeah, oh yeah. That was fun time. Yeah, but we did have the corn ice cream and we did it with like polenta, right? And pizza.
Yeah. That was delicious. It was like a perfect summertime dish.
Yeah.
Oh, so we got a question. When is okra in season? That is a good question.
Okra season, and it starts in April. Down here it starts a little earlier because we're in the south. But if you're depending where you are, it's normally early spring going into the summertime. So.
Yeah, and it might be a good time, like during the summertime, if you do see them, stick them into your freezer so that you can use it, like you said, like throughout the fall and winter seasons when it's not available. So.
Absolutely, and especially like if you're gonna make like a gumbo or something like that, really in there. So yeah.
Yeah, we have a comment. Okra's always found in the Indian stores or in the Indian markets.
It is, yes. It's a big part of Indian food too, but originally it is from Africa, and it's kind of the British, and like the restaurant I have, the British restaurant, when the British kind of went into and they kind of got all the indentured slaves and all that, and they moved around. It went into India as well, but it's initially from Africa. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think freezing it kind of affects the texture of the okra?
Sorry,
Do you think
freezing.
freezing?
It, it's a little more slimy when you freeze it. Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
that's what I've noticed. Like when you freeze it, it does get a little more slimy. So yeah.
Yeah, so that is something good to put into a gumbo, like you said.
And then it's boiled at that point, and you not have to worry about it. But
Right.
yeah, if you're gonna do it fresh, I prefer. If you're gonna do it any other way, I prefer fresh. But this is something like I grew up. That's what we eat for breakfast when I was growing up in Trinidad. We'd have okra.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Growing up in the Caribbean, for breakfast, we normally have vegetables for breakfast, not pork or anything like that.
Right. Yeah, that sounds great. I love that concept too. I think there's more and more of that movement where like people are having savory breakfasts, that aren't a sweet pastry or a cereal or something full of sugar. So I'm all for vegetables for breakfast.
Yeah, I know. Like it's funny because like one of my coworkers was coming into work and he's like, "I'm bringing cereal for breakfast." I'm like, "Oh, okay." You wanna do it? Go ahead. Delilah's taking over the knife skills now.
Great. And I think the succotash dish, when I was looking at all the ingredients, I was like, it's great if you have kids, if they're younger kids or older kids, because they can help out with like all the chopping of all the
Yeah,
vegetables. Yeah.
yeah, and kids tend to eat a lot more if they're part of what they're creating, and
Hmm.
that's why I always like Delilah to kind of help me in the kitchen because I feel like she would venture out more when she's eating.
Uh-huh.
So yeah.
Totally. Yeah, there's like that connection between the food that you're
Yeah,
working with and the food
yes,
that you're eating.
exactly. I just made this, you're gonna eat it. So yeah. So um so yeah, so we have some like fresh tomatoes that we got as well. We're gonna go in there while this is cooking. And then the field peas is pretty much almost done. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the peas and put it in here with some of that liquid so it makes like a sauce. And then we're gonna move on to cooking our snapper. So this dish is great with anything. I'm doing snapper tonight, but you can do chicken with it, you can do shrimp with it, you can do steak with it, you can do any kind of protein you want with it. It lends itself very well to everything. So, this is a great vessel for any dish. So, got it?
Yay. Looks great. Are the farmers markets like open year round down south, or are they only
Yeah.
open from like?
Yeah, there's this market that is open 24 hours, 12 months a year. So,
Wow.
um, tomatoes are amazing in the south, especially in Alabama because it's soil here. So we love that a lot. So, yeah. When I moved here, I was surprised about the bounty of the vegetables they have here. Initially, when I moved and I started working in a restaurant, I kept telling people, "This is what I want you to make. I want you to make this. I want you to grow this for me, this for me." And then I realized it wasn't working well. So then I was like, "Okay, grow what works best for you, and I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna do with my dishes." And
Hmm.
that's how I've started to rethink everything I've done, especially working in New York restaurants. We had access to whatever we wanted. So we just said, "Hey, I wanted this, I wanted that," and we can get it from
Yeah.
wherever. We could get hot palms from Hawaii and, prawns from Scotland. But when I moved here, I realized I didn't have that access. So it had me to change the way I think about the dishes I created. And also, it's also one of those things where I feel like it's pushed me as a chef to be like, my food is different here because you cannot have the best food unless you're standing in the soil you're standing in and the environment you're around, and it makes a huge difference in the flavor of the food. So
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. It's just so seasonal, so local and regional, and it's supporting your local farmers too.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's great. I love it.
Yeah, because I always say to people when they come to the restaurant, I was like, I can tell you where every ingredient on that plate is from and the zip code for it. Because
Hmm.
we have a lot of local farmers and supporting the community, especially now or when they need it most and more than ever. So yeah.
Totally.
So I got the tomatoes in there now with the corn and the okra. Now I'm gonna go with my yep.
I love that this dish makes such a huge batch. Like, I'm all about batch cooking, so I'm always like, yeah, just cook once and then eat it multiple times throughout the week if you
Yeah, so
can.
that's
So,
what I do when I try to cook at home. I try to make something that because I'm constantly in the restaurant all the time, so I'm not able to be able to cook all the time at home. So whenever
hmm
I make something, I try to make something where it's a huge batch, like you mentioned, and that they can enjoy during the week with leftovers. And again, like I said, they can have this. We're gonna have this tonight with fish. You can have it another time with shrimp or whatever protein you're into that night, or chicken, grilled chicken, or just by itself. So one of the ingredients that they normally have here in the South that they put in here is bacon, and we don't eat that lifestyle anymore. Like I mentioned, my husband had like heart issues, so we tend to just only eat vegetables and seafood. So I'm eliminating the bacon in there, but it's just as good.
totally.
And for the longest time, my daughter always wanted to be a vegetarian. Remember
And it's like, you know what? I love that you don't have to be like one or the other. It's just like every day can be different. If you
that?
want to be vegetarian one day, great. If you want to be vegan one day, great. If you want to have a little seafood or some chicken one day, great. Like, you kind of just have to listen to your body and see what it needs to. That's what I tell people.
Especially, yeah, you know the best for that because of what you do. So yeah. So okay, so next we're gonna start going to like the fish now. I'm heating up the cast iron skillet. Get it nice and hot. So when we put the fish in there, the skin doesn't stick to the pan. Again, I'm going with a bit of avocado oil.
Hey, Sudesh, I actually just gave my mom my old cast iron pan. Do you have any tips on how to care for it or properly treat it or season it?
We so I never wash it. I never like scrub it. I just rinse it out, and that's all I do with it because so it keeps the seasoning in there. So and I keep whenever ever so often I would throw it in the oven and let it get hot in there. So it knocks up all the rust and all of that, but I never wash it with soap. I think that makes sense. So it's kind of just wash it with water and just salt. And this pan was actually given to me by Jason's mom, so that's why I thought it'd be kind of nice to use this today. Since
Oh,
yeah, since we're kind of celebrating her and this is all about her. So yeah,
what was her name?
Martha.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have any fun stories you want to share about, her, go ahead and feel free to share. I'd love to hear it.
Like one of my fondest memories, she had Alzheimer's, and I remember every time I go down there, so she never used to really drink, and I was like, I'd pour myself a glass of wine, and then she'd be like, "What are you drinking?" I was like, "Oh, I'm having a glass of wine." She's like, "Oh, I have some too," and then I'd pour it and put it next to her. And me and her be watching TV all the time, and she'd like ever so often pick it up and drink it, and she'd be like, "Oh my God, this is like wine." I'm like, "Yep," and then she'd like put it back down.
And did you forget again?
And she'd forget again, and like a
Oh,
minutes later, she would like grab it and drink. And she's like, "Oh my God, it's wine." I'm like, "Yep, it's wine." So by
oh.
minute, she'd have a good buzz, and she'd be very happy. But like, yeah, that was one of my fondest memory. And one of the craziest things, she always remembered who I was because she associated me with smell of the food. Because whenever I came to their
Oh.
house, I was always cooking. So she's like, one of the, it's odd because she forgot about a lot of people, but she never forgot who I was because she always knew if the house is smelling like this, that means Sedesh is here. So
Oh, that's amazing. I know
yeah,
it's amazing how much your smell is connected to your memory. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I didn't think about it until, then I was like, wow, it's crazy how you're connected that way, your brain. So
right.
yeah,
Oh, that's so sweet. Mm.
yeah. So I'm getting this pan nice and hot. I'm gonna get it like nice and heated, hot and smoking. Now we're gonna go in with our snapper.
And you just seasoned it with salt and pepper, right?
Salt and pepper on there. I tend not to season my protein a lot with anything because I like to keep the integrity of what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even in the restaurant when I'm making steak or anything like that or pork, I just salt and pepper because again, I like to keep the integrity of what we're eating and the sauces on the side can support it, but I don't want to like do too much to it. So.
Right. Those are some nice size fillets you got over there.
Uh, Jason went. I called my fish person. I was like, I want to do this and do this thing, and I was like, I want some really pretty fillets. So they turned out really well. So, but again, any fish would work with it. You don't have to be snapper. It could be, I'm trying to think. In the south where I am, Alabama seafood is amazing. So we have everything is within 200 mile radius, so we can get really great seafood. The fishermen normally text me every night what they're catching, and that's what I serve at the restaurant. So
Cool.
everybody's like, "Are you gonna have this dish? Are you gonna have this tonight?" I'm like, "I don't know. It all depends on what these guys are catching on their boats, and that's what I'm gonna have." So.
Awesome. What are some other like southern fish that's like popular to eat?
Grouper is very popular.
Mm.
We have Flounder is very popular as well. What's another? Tuna is very popular. Um, but one of the other things I'm trying to do right now, and I'm working on, is trying to do bycatches, which is fishes that most of the fishermen go to get snapper and all of that. So when they throw their nets out, they they get other fishes, and I call it, I refer to it as the bycatch. I was like, that's the fish I want to serve, the fishes that you didn't go out to catch, because I like that, and I like that we can use it and it's more sustainable as well.
Hmm.
So we're not overfishing for this the same type of fish.
Right. Yeah. I love that. That's so great.
Uh,
Sustainability is, it's not just a fancy, a fancy word that gets thrown around here and there, but like really thinking about the details of it, like that's so important, I think. So I didn't know about that. So that's so cool.
yeah, so that's one of the big things I do at the restaurant.
I guess your chefs have to be really talented and know how to like cook different types of fish too, right?
Yeah, like they would call us and tell us, and we're like, okay, let's think about it. Let's put our heads together, um, and kind of come up with some great ideas for the fishes that we're gonna serve.
Wow, there's more fish.
Can't have too many fish.
Right. I suppose you can always use the leftovers in like a fish taco or something.
Exactly. Jason always takes us to work for his lunch. He's always so busy that he doesn't have time to deal with it. So yeah. I'm gonna watch this up too. Great. what's your favorite thing to cook?
Yeah, you know what? I love to do like different classics but making them very vegetable focused. So, very plant forward, I guess if you want to use that term, that people are throwing around these days. So, I'll take like a traditional quesadilla, but I'll make it with like, a gluten-free tortilla or a corn tortilla, but then I'll fill the quesadilla with like, some vegan cheeses and some black beans and corn and kind of like basically take like your succotash, mash it up and like throw it into a quesadilla or something. So it's like doing a different take on what classic dishes there are and trying to make it healthier and throwing as many vegetables as I can.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So are you vegan?
No, I mean sometimes our meals are vegan, but I wouldn't classify myself as a vegan. So it's like every day is kind of different. Sometimes I'll have a little bit of chicken or turkey. Sometimes I'll have a little bit of shrimp or fish, but other than that, we don't eat anything that comes from a cow or a pig. So, we've kind of adopted a very similar eating style. I think you and I try to avoid gluten a lot, try to avoid dairy. Yeah, and I honestly feel like, we're healthier for it too. So I love that you brought in the fact that, Jason had to change his whole eating style, basically because of a health scare, that'll do it sometimes.
Yeah,
And yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
so for
And
me, I try to get people, before as like a preventative thing instead of like after the fact, before that health scare.
yeah, and for a lot of people it's hard because you're like, why do I need to? It's really hard unless you're like, okay, I really need to do this. And I think that's what happened with him. That we're like, okay, we're not joking around. This is what we have to do now, and that's what we did. I love that you said quesadilla and stuff like that. So at work, I was introduced to like a lot of like Mexican and Honduras food from the flavors as well, and I use it a lot now because so delicious that they use a lot of vegetables and they use a lot of different seasonings for food, and it makes it delicious and it doesn't have to be like a steak or anything like that.
Hmm. Right. It doesn't have to be the standard protein, carb,
Yeah,
thing on your plate. You can kind of just mix it and match it.
exactly.
And I think a big part of it, because we are supporting the Alzheimer's Association, is that a lot of these foods, vegetables in particular, have, so many antioxidants. And, with fish, there's like healthy fats for your brain. So a big thing is like, how to eat to support your brain health too.
Yeah, yeah, because I use like I remember for a while I started using lion's mane mushroom and they said that has like some stuff in there that helps with your brain as well. So I use that quite often in the restaurant as well.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah. And I have a lot of foragers who forages it wild here, and I'm happy that we have a lot of mushrooms that we can, get here that's able it's naturally grown and foraged. So yeah.
Do you ever go foraging for your own mushrooms?
I have not. I go forage. I've done foraging for like flowers. So
Oh, nice.
I do violets. I've done honeysuckle. There's a bunch of stuff I do like that. I haven't done mushrooms yet. I haven't been fortunate enough. That's like I leave it to the professionals.
Yeah, I think for mushrooms especially, you don't know if they're poisonous or
Yeah,
not. So you need somebody who knows what they're doing.
it could go the other way around where it's poisonous. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we're almost finished with our fishes cooking. Succotash is going really well. What do you think, Delilah? Oh,
Ooh, I think I'm having some internet issues. I don't know if anyone else is having the same.
let's see this. So I'm gonna have Jason come over and talk about his mom because that's a big foundation for us. So
It's okay, Jason. You look great.
Wasn't expecting anything. You know, like you were saying earlier with the good fats for your brain and stuff, unfortunately, you know, we didn't discover all those things until, you know, it was too late. So, but we tried what we could do. And we hope that this will help me because she was diagnosed when she was 55. So that makes me have a 50% chance of developing.
Oh, wow.
So she got it very young.
Do you have any memories that you want to share about her, Jason?
You know, I have so many friends now that are kind of going through the same thing with their parents. And one thing I always tell them is you have to laugh because crazy things they do. If you don't laugh, you'll just cry yourself to death. So just try to see the funny parts of it. And it's not easy because you lose them twice. They fade away into someone else, and then they eventually do pass away. So you kind of have to grieve them twice. All right, so go ahead.
Okay, so now I got some basil, some fresh basil, and I'm gonna toss that into the succotash. And I think we're there. I adjusted the flavor for salt and pepper, and you can do that however you want it as well. And got my succotash. I think we're ready to plate. So I got some the succotash on here, and we're gonna go with our fish. And there you go. Bon appetit. There's seared snapper with some succotash.
Yeah.
Succotash in general, yeah. So.
Looks amazing. Thanks, Sedesh. Thank you so much for being here today. And yeah. Well, if anybody has any questions, feel free to pop those into the chat and, you know, we can answer anything you might have on your mind, anything you want to ask Sedesh or Delilah or Jason. Yeah, but I do just want to say thank you to everybody for joining here today. You know, I know the Alzheimer's Association, you know, really highlights, you know, the need for people to be aware of, you know, healthcare needs, research. You know, there is no known cures, you know, as of right now. So, you know, just I want to thank you for supporting them and highlighting them for today. And yeah, and we have a comment.
We love you, sir. We are so proud of you.
Yeah.
Hi, Delilah. Nicole is watching you.
Thanks for helping, Delilah.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes, Delilah. Thank you for helping my chef. Thank you so much.
We have a comment. Looks yummy. I'll try it someday. Thank you. Great. Yeah. And so I guess, you know, thank you all for joining us today. I know, you know, it's dinner time right now. So, you know, if you've been cooking along, we'd love to see photos of anything that you've made. Feel free to throw it onto our Facebook, email it, you know, send it over to Sedesh. And, you know, I hope you'll jump onto our website, make a donation to Chefs for Chefs so that we can support the Alzheimer's Association all this month. And if you haven't done so already, you know, feel free to join our Facebook group, drop in your email address if you'd like, stay updated on all of our events. And yeah, so if you'd like to stay connected to what Chef Sedesh is doing, he is at the Anvil Pub and Grill in Birmingham, Alabama. So if anybody's down there, pop on in and check out what he's cooking. And I will say that keep an eye out for an episode of Beat Bobby Flay because a certain somebody here is going to be popping into one of these episodes soon enough. And Sedesh, I hear you're opening another new restaurant?
Yes, we'd like to open another location, and we're looking at it right now in the same Birmingham area of another Anvil.
Great. And any sort of theme that you have in mind?
I mean, similar to what we're doing right now, we're just going to do this another location of the same. So, yeah.
Cool. So it's going to be like a sister restaurant, basically.
Yes, essentially, yes.
Cool. Oh, that sounds great. Yeah. And so for those of you on here today, you're all invited to join us for our next event as well. I'm going to continue to support the Alzheimer's Association all this month. So I'm going to be doing a free cook along. So feel free to share the link. It's going to be the same link. I try to keep it easy. Hopefully Zoom works on my computers next time. And, I can share the story of how it affected our family too, because our grandmother also sadly passed away from Alzheimer's back when I was working at Country, actually. And so, Sedesh, you're busy with restaurant life and being a dad, but, I hope you'll be able to join us probably 2 weeks from tonight. I know this is your day off, but if you're around, I would love to have you come on and, keep sharing all of your culinary tips and, just gracing us with your amazing presence and personality. So, yeah.
Yes.
Yep. So in the meantime, I guess, look out for our next email, probably in the next few days or so. And I will, hopefully I'll see some of your wonderful faces then. And I will, just say thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today, and hope to see you again next time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.